Hello and welcome once again to Lynne and Craig's live English stream. We are we are here to help you with your English. That is the aim of this live stream, and I'm delighted to be joined once again, sitting over there by Lynne from
Mhm.
putitlikethis.com. Hi, Lynne.
Hello, Craig.
How are
Nice
you?
to be here. I'm good, thank you. I'm doing pretty well. A little bit tired today, but I'm sure I
Mm.
liven up as we go on.
Well, it's nearly Friday and it's a long
Oh, it
weekend,
is.
so you can
Mm,
relax. Oh no, you're
yes.
not. You can't relax tomorrow. But anyway, you've got
No, I
something to
can.
say.
I'm going to relax tomorrow,
Oh,
believe me.
you're not
Oh,
working
yes.
tomorrow.
No,
Okay,
I'm
good.
not working tomorrow. No, no, no,
Good
no, no, no.
news.
I'm going to be having a day off tomorrow and enjoying every minute.
Well deserved. So tell
Mhm.
everybody where you're. Everybody, I think one person's watching. Tell the tell the person watching where you're
Who is
from
watching?
and
Please
who
tell
you
us.
are.
Oh, Lindsay. Well, that's a new. I don't know Lindsay, so
Hi,
that's good.
Lindsay.
Hi, Lindsay. Okay, so my name is Lynn, and my website is putitlikethis.com. I am an online teacher, and I specialize in creating a course to fit you and to help you find your own voice in English, because I do believe that everybody has different objectives when they're studying English. And I think it's more motivating if you learn the English that you really need and the English that you really want to use, so that you can express yourself in English. So I'm lucky because most of my classes are one-to-one, so I can make a course exactly to fit you, and you won't have to make any compromises with other people in the group unless you want to.
Okay, well, it's lovely to have people joining us already as we speak.
Mm,
Please say your name because sometimes we don't know from your tag who you are. So
uh,
Marpo9, hi, hello to you. Who are you?
yeah,
Silly Sausage, I love that name. Hello, Silly
yeah, that's a
Sausage.
nice silly sausage. Vinny,
Viniku,
Vinniku.
hi. Yeah, well,
Uh-huh.
I know that Viniku, but I can't remember your name. I'm
I
terribly
know.
sorry.
I
Please remind us
remembered
who you are.
from Brazil. Aren't you from Brazil?
I
But I
think
can't
so.
remember your name. So please tell us your name again. And Lindsay, I don't know. You all know Craig because he's very famous.
I'm a legend in my own mind.
He's a
Yeah,
legend, but you
in my
are a
own mind.
legend,
In
Craig.
my
You
own
are.
mind.
And you have quite an online media presence.
Well, if it is your first time watching, you're very, very welcome. As Lynn said, my name's Craig from manchesterengles.com, a website that has support for Spanish speakers. So you can pop over there if you are a Spanish speaker. Podcast, we do have a podcast. I do a podcast with my friend Reza at inglespodcast.com. It's a weekly podcast that will also help you with your English. And if you want help with your speaking, I do run conversation courses at different levels over at englishcraig.com. So that's the place to go to if you want more information. You can get in touch with me there and I will give you all the information and let you know what your level is and which schedule is best for you. We'll do that over a free Zoom chat. So if you are interested in improving your speaking, englishcraig.com is the place to go. Yes, I'm Brazilian, says Viniku.
Yes, see, I knew. And he's called Vinicius.
And
Very
of
nice.
course it's Martin. Of course, Marple9 is
Vinicius.
Martin. Now I remember. Hi Martin, thanks for
Martin
joining.
or Marcin?
It's he's Polish, so I think it's
Ah,
Marcin. It's
Marcin.
Marcin. I
Okay.
think that's the pronunciation. I'm sorry if
Mm-hmm.
I've mispronounced it. Marcin. I tend to call you Martin, so I shouldn't really. I should
No,
Marcin.
no.
Yeah, so today what are we speaking about, Lynn? We thought we'd help people with their debating skills.
Yes, we did. And well, this is a bit of a thing that I have, you see, because when I was a long time ago at school, a very long time ago, on the British curriculum, debates was a skill that was very popular to be encouraged in schools. And we were taught how to debate, which I think the thing about a debate, it's a very civilized way of expressing very strong opinions about things, and without shouting or interrupting each other, but it's a very formal thing, a debate. There are certain rules, and you have certain, you have to be civilized. You cannot interrupt people and speak over them and shout and all of that. And so I think it used to be on the curriculum in English in England when I was a child, because it was part of civic education to teach you how to behave and to agree and disagree amicably. Of course, it kind of went out of fashion a little bit, debates, I think. Would you agree that it's kind of gone out of fashion?
Yes, although they still
Probably
do
still
have
in
them at very
private
higher
schools.
education. For example, at Oxford and Cambridge,
Yeah,
they're on YouTube now, aren't they? Where they're debating
possibly.
political issues.
Debating societies and things like that.
Yes.
Yes, I can imagine. But it's a very formal kind of thing. And it stopped really being taught formally in schools. And the consequence of that, as an old lady, I'm going to say, but in my day, the consequence of that is nowadays, well, actually, Silly Sausage has said something very relevant. You must tell us your name, Silly Sausage. He says, or she says, not everyone is a keyboard warrior. I love that, because that is the problem today when people don't agree and disagree amicably. On social media, there is a lot of very violent, aggressive content where people are being very rude to each other. And some people also, when they speak, they start shouting and interrupting each other. And unfortunately, in my opinion, if I may say so, some of the politicians coming out of the USA at the moment are not exactly great examples of amicable discussion, let's say. So debating. So we took debating, but we're not going to debate, but we're just going to show you in English how you can amicably and politely agree and disagree with each other. Is that right?
That's right. Yes, but we're not going to get deeply into serious issues today. We've got some mini debates that we're going to do in the second half of the live stream. And of course, you are welcome to give your opinion in the chat, say what you think. And I'll also put the link if you want to come in and join us and give your opinion as well live, then you're welcome to do that as well. But before we look at these mini debates and give our opinions on them, we thought it would be a good idea to revise some expressions you can use when you are asking for opinion, giving your opinion, agreeing and disagreeing softly a little bit, and also disagreeing a bit harder and a bit firmer. So these expressions are especially useful in Cambridge exams and other English exams when you have to collaborate and speak with a partner. That's very common in English tests. So we hope that will be useful for you. Let's begin with asking for opinion. And before we give you some of our suggestions, we'd like to know what you know. So please write in the chat in English, how would you ask somebody for their opinion in English? Imagine you're discussing a topic. You want to know what the other person thinks. I want to know what Lynn thinks about something. How would I ask for her opinion? Please write any expressions that come to mind in the chat, and then we will share some of ours. Has anybody else joined us?
Yes, I think Darwin has joined us. Yeah.
Hi, okay. Darwin.
Yeah. Okay, and we're getting some good examples of from Lindsay, from Chris, who is Silly Sausage, and Vinicius. Yeah.
Hi, Chris. So what's
Chris,
your take on? Yeah, that's good.
What's your take on something? Which is how do you see things? Yeah. What's your take on? That's a lovely expression. What's your take on?
And very often we stress the pronoun in these opinion expressions. So you'd probably stress your, which is not common in connected speech. We often make pronouns like your or my or you. We make them weak. But in this case, we'd stress your probably. We'd say, what's your opinion? What do you think? So stress that pronoun usually. Okay. Some more examples?
Okay, can I just interrupt there? Lindsay says that he's hearing echoes from us. So maybe there's something wrong with our microphones and things.
Is it only Lindsay? Martin, are you hearing echoes from us as well? Is everybody hearing echoes, or is it just Lindsay? Because it might be Lindsay's computer.
Okay,
It doesn't
all right.
usually
So
echo.
that
So
can
if
come back.
you can give us some feedback on our echoing,
Yeah. Okay.
it might only be Lindsay.
All right. So I want to come back to the point that you made about what do you stress when you say, how's your now? Actually, you've just put something up from Vinicius. You've said, how's your view about it? That's not quite right, Vinicius. We'd have to say, what's your view? Yeah. Remember, what refers to the object. What's your view? What is your view? Is it a positive one? Is it a negative one? Right?
Or how do you feel?
But if you're using a verb, then we use how. How do you feel? How do you see that? Okay, so if you're using a verb, you need how. And if you're using the noun, your view, your thoughts, then you need what. Okay. And somebody else wrote in the chat before, what Lindsay said right at the beginning. You said, Lindsay, what is your thoughts on? Remember, thoughts are plural, so that's not quite right. You need what are your thoughts on? Yeah, okay. What are your thoughts on that? What is your view on that? And then if you're using verbs, use how. How do you think? How do you see that? How do you view that? All right. Now, if I can come back to another point, these are very simple questions, aren't they? The most common one is, what do you think? Right?
Yeah.
Which is,
What's your
what do
opinion?
you think? Now, there are 4 words there. Now, what I'm going to say now applies to all of these things. In a discussion, depending on the moment in the discussion, you will find that English people will stress different words in that phrase. So I can say, what do you think? What do you think? Now, when I say, what do you think? I'm stressing what and I'm stressing think. And the do you, I'm pushing together, weakening do you. What do you think? What do you think? Now, that's spontaneous because I am interested in the what and think. But imagine that there are 3 of us in the room. So there's Craig and maybe Craig's wife. And I want to specifically address Craig. Then I wouldn't stress what and think. I'd say, what do you think? And then I'm stressing you, because I'm signaling the new person in the room. Yeah. Now, if you see this in an exam, it happens to me. I'm an examiner, so I often have 2 candidates in front of me, and the first time I say, "What do you think?" I'm looking at one candidate, and I'll say, "What do you think?" And I stress what and think. And then when I want to change the turn, I'll turn to the other person and I'll say, "And what do you think?" Because I'm changing the object, I'm changing the emphasis. And now my emphasis, it's very clear that everybody's thinking, but what I want to emphasize now is you. I'm talking to you. What do you think? Now, the same kind of stress patterns work with all of those questions. I can say, what's your take on that? What's your take on that? And your is reduced to your. What's your take on that? That's the first question. The second question is, and what's your take on that? And then I start stressing the your. So you will find that the intonation patterns on all of these change, okay, depending on what you're trying to do. Are you trying to stress that you want to ask for the opinion? Or are you now changing your attention because that's obvious, and now you're stressing whose opinion you want?
That's a very good point. I'd also add to that if you give your opinion first and you want to know what the other person says, that is
Yes,
also when you'd stress it.
exactly.
I
And what do
think
you think?
Arsenal, I think my team Arsenal are going to win the league this year. What do you think? So I've given my opinion and then I'm stressing the pronoun for you. And that's the
Exactly.
first, that's interesting. That's the first question here that of our selection. What do you think? How do you feel about it? Which is very similar to what's your take, although the prepositions change, don't they? What's your take on it? And how do you feel about it? So be careful of those prepositions.
Feel about, take on.
Yeah. And what do you reckon is more informal? Definitely more British English, but fairly common. What do you reckon?
What do you reckon?
And as Lynn said, that do you would be contracted and weak, and you might even hear j.
What do you reckon?
Where I'm from in London, it will come out probably if I'm speaking with native speakers like that. What do you reckon? What do you reckon?
What do you reckon?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's how you ask for an opinion. What about giving your own opinion? Let's have some of your ideas first. How would you stress it? How would you give your opinion in English if you are giving your view on something? Let us know in the chat. Any and all suggestions welcome, and we'll help you if you're not sure exactly how the expression goes, and then we'll show you a selection that we've put together. And hopefully you'll be go ahead.
I was going to say, don't bother writing in my opinion, because I'm sure that would be the first one. Everybody will write that. Write some alternatives. Now, the reason I'm saying write some alternatives, because again, in exams, the students also always say, in my opinion, which is correct. It's correct.
There's nothing wrong with that.
With in my opinion.
In an exam, you don't want to be repeating "in my opinion" 5 times.
True.
You want to show a variety of vocabulary.
And I would also say that in real life, very few of us go around saying, in my opinion, because you sound very opinionated.
Yeah.
You can sound quite pompous.
Yes.
If you keep going and self-centered and egotistical, if you keep going around saying, in my opinion. So I don't know why this is, but in my opinion is one of the most common phrases that is often taught in textbooks. But I disagree really strongly. I really don't believe that in my opinion is the most common expression amongst native speakers. Yeah, it definitely exists, right? And it's definitely okay to use, but I think it's acceptable to use once to say, in my opinion. But if you keep saying, in my opinion, then you start looking quite pompous and quite full of your own self-importance.
We've got some really nice suggestions coming in. It will be from my point of view, not in. So from my point of view is a nice expression. From
very nice. That's much less pompous, I think. From my point of view.
Silly sausage, from my perspective, it seems to me.
Yeah.
Yes, very good. And Martin, to my way of thinking, which is also very nice.
That's also very nice. Very
well done,
nice, Martin. To my way of thinking.
Yeah, the way I see it.
The way I see it. To my way of thinking is long. It's nice. But similar is to say to my mind. Your mind is like your way of thinking. So to my mind is another alternative as well.
Yeah. The way I see it. And I reckon as well. More informal. Yeah.
And the really common one is, and this is the common one, I think.
Yes.
I do think that I think is the most common one. It's obviously not one that's going to get you lots of points in an oral exam, right? So you need to have some of these alternatives to show off your language, to show that you can use different things. But in normal conversation, like Craig and I, if we go for a walk along the beach and we're talking about things, I'm sure that we say all the time, I think.
Yeah. But to take it a step up a little bit higher, if you use that auxiliary verb that Lynn just used to emphasize it and to stress it and say, I do think, which if you listen very closely to the news, you'll hear politicians say that all the time. Well, I do think that So they're using that auxiliary verb to stress what they think. And that could also elevate and raise the level of that
Absolutely.
expression
You
as
can
well.
also do that using what they call in grammar a cleft sentence. You can start, what I think is, so you can say, what I think, and then you say is, and then you say what you think.
That's a very good
what
idea.
I think is, or what I feel is.
Let me put that in the chat. What I think is.
And that's also a form of emphasis. It's the same as I do think, which is more emphatic, adding the do.
So we have asked somebody for their opinion. We've given our own opinion on a topic. Let's look at agreement. How would you agree with your partner? Your partner says something interesting and in your opinion correct. How would you agree with your partner's point of view?
And I do want your ideas, but you are not allowed to say,
I agree.
completely agree with you, because that is the most common one, just like in my opinion.
But it's
the
not,
other common
not wrong.
one,
It's just wrong if you're
wrong,
repeating it all
but
the
it's
time.
overused.
It's overused.
Okay, so
exactly.
the number of people who say I completely or I totally agree with you, I totally agree, and it's not wrong, but often it's overused. So see if you can give us some alternatives. That would be good.
And one mistake I often hear from my students, because they tend to be Spanish speakers, is I'm agree. Don't say that. That's a classic mistake.
Yes, please don't say that.
Agree is a verb. And
Yeah.
if you want to use I am or I'm, make sure you're using the noun. I'm in agreement with you. Now, that's quite formal. You could use that in a formal situation, like a job interview, for example. But yeah, be careful with agree. It's a verb, so it's I agree. Well, I do agree with you. You could put an auxiliary in there as well. Are we getting any ideas here?
Yes. Oh, nice. Calm. Oh, we're getting some lovely ones. So Martin said, I couldn't agree more. Sorry. Okay. You start with, Martin says, I see eye to eye, which is nice. I see eye to eye with you. Or you can just say, I see eye to eye there.
Or we see eye to eye.
Or we see eye to eye, right? So you don't always need a compliment. I agree with you 100%. Lovely. That's very nice.
Hi, Carmen.
Martin also said, I couldn't agree more, which I think is nice. Now, Vinicius has said one. Nice direct ones. You're right.
You're right.
I love that one, Vinicius. I wish people would use that more often in exams when it's to the point and you don't waste time with these very long phrases and you get right to the point. You just say, you're right. Okay.
Lindsay said, our views are aligned. Is that pompous to you?
A bit formal, quite formal, I think. I think that would be very formal.
It's correct, Lindsay. It just sounds a bit formal.
Maybe that would be suitable in those more formal Cambridge-Oxford debates. Possibly. I like this
sausage.
one. I can see your point of view. I'm with you.
I'm with you on
nice.
that.
I'm with you on that, you can say, and that's lovely. Yeah.
I've got a funny feeling I know this person, silly sausage. Nice one, mate. That is very colloquial. Is that you, Sally?
No, it's Chris. Chris. Silly Sausage
Chris.
says they're called Chris, but I don't know who
pardon.
Chris is. And I'm also not sure, Chris, if you're male or female. So if I get the pronoun wrong, she, because Chris can be
could be Christine or Christopher.
Christine. So you could be he, she, or they. But if I get it wrong, excuse me. Okay. All right. So nice one, mate. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, nice one, mate. I completely agree. That's what Lynn wants you to keep away from.
Keep away from that one, yeah, please. It's just because they're overused, and I hear them over and over again, and there are others. There are others which make you sound more natural, more like a native speaker,
Yeah. I think you've added some at the end here. I'll put these in the chat.
Yeah. Oh, look, that's exactly how I see it. It's lovely, beautiful. You're absolutely right. It's lovely. I couldn't agree more. That makes perfect sense. Is lovely. Martin's also come up with another one, which I think is a lovely one. I see where you're coming from, which means I understand what you're getting at. That's one of those verbs, very common verb, to get. We use it in all sorts of senses. And if I say, I see what you are getting at, to get at something, what you're getting at means trying to express. I see what you are trying to express. We don't say that. We say, I see what you're getting at.
Another one I thought of, we're on the same page.
Yeah.
It's similar to we see eye to eye, isn't it?
That's right. We're on the
And
same page.
in the chat, I'm putting some that Lynn's also added. These are shorter and maybe more natural. Of course, yeah, that could be agreement. Absolutely. Yeah, dead right. You're spot on.
Spot on. And this one, I have to do this one. I didn't know how to write it. I went,
Yeah, but that depends on intonation, doesn't it? Because
that depends very much on intonation.
Agreement, the way you've just said it, but
exactly. If you do, go on, you do disagreement.
So if it's falling, you're not sure, are you? You're not sure that you're agreeing. But if it's rising,
that's agreement.
Wouldn't get many marks for vocabulary on that, but it is used.
Yes, no. Well, I don't know. I think you would get marks for intonation. I would credit that. I think that shows that you dominate pronunciation, doesn't it?
Yeah, true.
If you can deploy intonation like that.
I couldn't agree more, Lynn. So let's look at disagreeing.
Yeah, I'm spot on with that, mate.
Spot on, mates. Soft disagreement, polite disagreement, maybe indirect. So you're agreeing, but maybe it's not a hard agreement. It's not a 100% agreement. So we call it in English hedging. So you're hedging your agreement. You're kind of agreeing, but in a soft way. How would you do that in English?
And I have to say, this is something that I want to champion, because this is, if you can softly disagree, then I think that you are amicably debating something. If you can only strongly disagree all the time or strongly agree, then I don't believe there's any nuance in the discussion. So I'm a big champion of this. I like soft disagreement, and I like qualified agreement. Because when people just are absolute with, I completely agree, and I completely disagree, then I don't really think there's much discussion going on, really.
Well, I see where you're coming from. However, sometimes you just completely disagree. I mean, sometimes you do. So
no.
But it does show nuance. I agree that you are open to having your mind changed.
Yes. And I think it also shows a willingness to actually discuss and develop. Because if you just make your frontiers known right at the very beginning, and there is no in between, then there is no discussion. All it is spouting off your opinion. There is no debate, there's no discussion, there's no development. Yes. So I think you do need, in a good discussion, you do need soft disagreement, you need partial agreement as well. Okay, you need the nuanced, I think.
Got some big ideas coming in. Carmen says, I'm with you. Great minds think alike.
Oh, that's nice. But that's absolute agreement, of course.
Yep. And I partly agree with you.
That's nice too. Very good.
Let's agree to disagree. That
you
would
need
be
the word let's
before
that. Let's agree to disagree is polite disagreement.
Yes, that's polite disagreement. Martin says, I see your point, but yeah, that's
very
good.
Nice. And in that one, going back to Martin's, I see your point. The intonation on but is also interesting there. I see your point, but
It's got 2 syllables, hasn't it?
Yeah, but.
But.
And when we do that, but, that is the signal that I'm going to disagree, partially. That I acknowledge what you've said, but I disagree.
Yeah.
And I think that little hesitation on the but gives a little bit more politeness to it. Because if you just say, I see your point, but I think this, it's too strong, isn't it? I see your point, but I do. If you deliver the but very strongly, then really you're not listening. But if you say, I see your point, but with that but, you're still trying to get the other person on board with you. You're still trying to convince them. It shows that you're willing to discuss more.
And of course, you can replace but with words like however, or on the other hand,
or on the other hand,
to show contrast, and then give another point of view. Other ideas we've got coming in, I'm not sure about that. Yeah.
Yes, you saw it so many times on movies. Absolutely.
Or I'm not sure. Well, I'm not sure. And then you offer another viewpoint. Yes,
or
that
you
is
can
common.
say, and here's another intonation of that, I'm not sure about that.
I'm not sure about that.
I'm about to disagree with you. Yeah, you are sure that you disagree. When I say, I'm not sure about that, I'm just being polite. I'm very sure that I disagree. When I say, I'm not sure about that.
By the way, if you are watching, make sure you're copying our intonation with these expressions so that you're improving your intonation with us. I'm not sure about that. So shadow us and repeat what we're saying. City sausage, Chris, rolling your eye. If you say so.
I love this. If you say so. I can't roll my eyes, but I do open my eyes. If you say so.
Oh God! If you say so, yeah.
Oh, you did the rolling eyes. I'm not very good at
I'm very good at rolling my eyes. I've had years of practice with my wife. Yeah.
I tend to use. That's terrible, Craig. That's terrible.
We constantly roll our eyes at each other.
Do you? I tend to use my frown lines, which is not very good, for wrinkles. But I've always gone, if you say so. If you say so.
Okay, let's get hard. Let's go to hard disagreement or strong or direct disagreement. Do you have any expressions to hand for that? If you really don't agree with what someone's saying, how can you strongly disagree with someone? And this is the last category. And then if we have time, we will discuss a few things. Yeah, and use these. So disagreeing strongly. Well, let's just show you because we are running a bit short of time. I completely disagree.
Now, that one I would be in favor of, because I think when you say, I completely disagree, you are signaling quite politely that you completely disagree. And usually that is truthful. The problem is in some of the speaking exams is people say, I totally agree with you. And they're not really truthful with that because they change the topic and they start talking about something else. They just say it to shut them up, which is not a polite discussion, right?
Yep.
So I disagree with, I totally agree, because maybe you don't, and maybe the next thing that you say shows that you don't totally agree. But I think with completely disagree, you can't go wrong because it's pretty truthful if you say that. I completely disagree.
But again, as we mentioned before, don't overuse it. So try to have 2 or 3 of these. If you're taking an exam, have them up your sleeve, ready to use in case you want to disagree more than once. Then you have a variety of vocabulary. Other possibilities, that's simply not true. I don't see it that way. And that doesn't make any sense to me. And then obviously you need to justify why you disagree. Emphatically disagree. That's a good...
that's even stronger than I completely disagree. Carmen's also said, no way at all, or no way. That can also pronounce it. And again, the intonation on no way at all can make it dismissive, which means like if you go, no way at all. then that's very, very strong. But if you say, no way at all, can you see the intonation? I'm almost a little bit apologetic with it. No way at all. I cannot agree there. And then you continue to go, but I'm still being amicable. No way at all. But if I say, no way at all, then I'm being obviously very emphatic. The intonation is different. Everything is stressed. And it shows that I'm not open to discussion. And if I forget the at all and I just say, no way, that is the end of the discussion, isn't it?
Yep, absolutely. And of course, no way can also be used to express surprise. If Lynn says to me, oh, I just got an 8,000 euro tax rebate from the tax man, no way. So you can use it with that intonation, no way, to express surprise at what somebody has said.
Yeah, all
Silly
these
sausage.
phrases are very, very dependent on the delivery, the intonation that you use. And so here's a good game for all of you, because it's a great game and it will improve your English a lot. This is what you've got to do in the bathroom. Look yourself in the mirror. Imagine a situation and then practice doing, no way. No way.
No way.
No way. Try to think of yourself in a different situation, being friendly, being annoyed, being happy, and play with the intonation. And these phrases are wonderful to play with intonation. Yeah, it's much more difficult to take a normal sentence and to imagine different ways to say it. But with the agreeing and disagreeing phrases, you can do loads. So this is where you have to channel your inner actress, but you do it in the bathroom when nobody hears you, in the mirror.
In the shower. In the shower.
Yeah, but it's quite good to see your reaction, because it helps, because it's often to do with facial expressions too. It's not just the intonation.
President Trump's winning a Nobel Peace Prize. No way. Or I think no way. That would be more, I don't follow your reasoning. Yeah, that's also correct. I don't think I would use that.
I don't
Carmen.
follow your reasoning.
I don't follow your reasoning. I would say, I informally, I would say I don't get it. I don't get what you're saying.
I don't know what you're getting at.
I don't see what you mean.
I don't think there's anything wrong with I don't follow your reasoning. The only thing is that reasoning is a series of logical arguments which are explained, which lead to what you've just said. And so you just got to be careful with that. Don't use that if the person, for example, if Craig just says, I think President Trump should have a Nobel Peace Prize, I cannot say to him, I don't follow your reasoning, because he hasn't reasoned anything. He's just given an opinion. He hasn't said why. So that's the danger with that kind of phrase. The person has to have given you a logical preamble to that. He has to have given you logical arguments. And then you can say, I don't follow your reasoning, because for you it seems illogical. Okay, but you can't just say that after somebody gives one opinion, I think.
So let's actually use these expressions. I'm going to put this in the chat. If you want to come and join us live, you are welcome. If you want to join us and use these expressions, or if you prefer to write them in the chat, then obviously give your opinion on the topics we're going to discuss and try to use as many of these expressions as possible. So just give me a second.
It would be great if somebody was brave enough to come in with us.
Put that in the chat.
It would be great. It's a great opportunity.
Yep. So.
All right.
Yeah.
We're not going to talk about anything like heavy. We won't talk about politics. No. Which one shall we do first?
Well, you choose one. There's a long list of this or that. These are this or that
this
questions.
Or that things.
So you choose one, Lynn, and I'll put it on the board.
I think I'm going to choose hotel or camping.
Is that because you know we'll probably not see eye to eye?
I'm not sure. I'm not sure.
Oh, okay. Trying to
Okay.
find it. How far down the list is it? You've
It's
gone right
nearly
down.
two-thirds of the way down. Hotel or camping.
Oh, can't
After
find it.
TV. 2 after TV.
Okay, well, no, I didn't put it on. You've
Oh,
chosen.
I've chosen one that you haven't put on.
You've
Can you
chosen
just
the
put it in
only
the
one.
chat? Okay, so we are going to
No, I'll
discuss.
make a banner for it.
All right. Okay, we're going to discuss whether you should go to a hotel on holiday or whether you should go camping. Which is better, hotel or camping? Please give us your ideas. Add to the debate.
And use as many of these expressions as possible. So, how do you feel about that, Lynn?
Oh, I think for me, it's really pretty clear. I really do think that I enjoy myself much better camping than hotels. I think there's a few things that are problematic with hotels. I think, first of all, you have certain expectations of hotels, which are usually often disappointing. You know, like maybe in the brochure it says it's 5 stars and you expect fantastic service and a comfortable bed and air conditioning that works and a view that's really nice, and the temperature in the room has to be perfect. And usually there's always something that about in a hotel room that you're disappointed with. That's my experience. Whereas when I go camping, I have very low expectations at camping and I'm always pleasantly surprised. So I love it that I get a good night's sleep because actually I've been so tired of sitting on the ground that when I can lie down, I'm really happy and I actually sleep really well. Or sometimes I get a lot of pleasure in having prepared with very rudimentary ingredients a beautiful dinner, and I really enjoy the food better and the wine better because I'm outside and I've actually made something that tastes quite nice. So I don't know, I get lots of little pleasures when I go camping. What do you think? How do you feel about it?
Well, I'm sorry. Actually, we didn't mention that. Very often, if you want to disagree, you might apologize first if you're British with an expression like "I'm sorry" or "I'm afraid." So I'm sorry, Lynn. I don't see it that way. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever to me because I also have low expectations with hotels, and I'm pleasantly surprised. Expectations being low, in my opinion, is the key to a happy holiday. But I don't like camping because if I wanted to be homeless, I would just live in a tent. And if I have the money to spend and sleep in a comfortable bed with running water and a toilet next to me and have the creature comforts of an air conditioner, then why not do it? I have been camping many times through necessity because I didn't have the money for a hotel. And I've also been camping because the place I wanted to visit was off the beaten track. So it didn't have any hotels in the area. But those are the only reasons I would consider camping because I don't see why I would have an uncomfortable night's sleep if I can afford to sleep in a comfortable bed.
Ah, that's interesting. I mean, I can see where you're coming from. I can see where you're coming from. It makes sense. I do follow your reasoning there. But I think also a part of it for me is because when I go on holiday, I want a different experience. And I live, fortunately, I think I live in a very comfortable home with a very comfortable bed.
You do?
And I
I've
think,
been to your home. It's a
and
beautiful home.
yeah, you haven't been in my bed though. No.
No, I haven't been there. I can't attest to how comfortable your bed is.
No. But you have been to my home. But I do live in a. I'm lucky. I've got a comfortable home, and I've got lots of comforts and air conditioning and goodness knows what. But you know, I think when I go on holiday, I want to challenge myself and I want to have a change, and yeah. And
It's very stoic.
I like the.
It's very stoic.
Is it? Maybe it's
Yes.
stoic. and I like to go back to basics. I like the feeling of knowing that I don't actually need all of this. But obviously, it's nice. I wouldn't like to live forever camping. Of course, I wouldn't. Yeah. But on a holiday, I don't know. It gives me that extra thrill. I do like it.
No, that's an interesting idea, but yeah, I'm not sure. I'm not sure I agree, but I
Mhm.
get where you're coming from.
Okay. All
Okay,
right. I think all of our listeners, they haven't
no
got anything to
opinions.
say about hotel or camping.
No, let me see if I can choose
Try a better
one
one. Maybe I
that
chose the wrong one.
okay, let me choose this one then. So, what would you prefer? Lose sleep or skip a meal? To skip means to miss, so you don't have your dinner, or you've suffered a bad night's sleep and you haven't slept very well at all, maybe 3 or 4 hours at the most. So, what's your view on this, Lynn? What do you reckon?
Oh, it's a tricky one, that one. The thing is, I think that if I usually, if you have not skipped a meal, if you have all of your meals and you're full, then I usually sleep well.
Right.
I mean, I think if I were to skip a meal, I don't think I would be able to sleep well. Don't you think?
If you skipped a meal, you mean?
Yes, if you skipped a meal, I'm not sure that you could sleep
Well,
well.
it's the feeling of being hungry or being sleep deprived,
Uh-huh.
and I think I'd rather be sleep deprived, to be honest,
Mhm.
because it's not very nice to feel hungry, is it? So as far as I'm concerned, I would prefer to
Mm.
have less sleep than skip a meal.
Yeah. Uh-huh. Um,
What about
yeah,
people watching?
mhm.
What do you think?
I don't think I've got strong opinions on that, really. I think
Mhm.
neither of them are very attractive options. Yeah, I think both of them are pretty much unpleasant. Yeah. And I'm sure that if I lost a lot of sleep, I would be prepared to sacrifice a meal so that I could sleep. And
Mhm.
also vice versa. I think if I had skipped a lot of meals and I was very hungry, I would be prepared to sacrifice sleep in order to get something to eat. I think those two necessities, they're very sort of physical necessities. And when you have them, you have them, and you're prepared to do anything to make the feeling go away. So I guess it
But
would depend on when you ask me.
if it's just one night and one meal, I stick by
Hmm.
my opinion. However, if we're talking about long term, in other words, like a week, I think when
Hmm.
without a week of sleep, I mean
Yeah,
that's
that would be,
torture, isn't it? That's
yes,
they
I
use
think
that
so.
as sleep deprivation is torture.
Uh-huh.
But
Yeah.
maybe if you were drinking water, there is a point
Hmm.
where you stop feeling so hungry.
Yes. Uh-huh. I think so.
Lindsay's opinion is that I don't think anyone in modern society are facing food deprivation. Um,
I'm not sure I agree
I'm
with
not
you there,
I'm not sure
Lindsay.
I agree
Uh-huh.
with you there.
Well, he has qualified it with modern society.
Yes, in
So
the
I
West.
suppose what you mean is in the West. But I also don't think I can agree with you on that. No, I would beg to differ, because I do think that there are elements, that there are people in all of our Western societies that are facing food deprivation, particularly children. In the UK, there's a lot of children who are facing food deprivation, where most of the money that their families have is going on housing, and then there's not very much left over for
Mhm.
food. So many children in England, there was a report on that, when there were many families where children had not had, like, they just had one meal a day. And I would say in modern society, I would call that food deprivation
Yeah.
in a sense.
Yeah,
So I
there
don't
are.
think I can agree with you there, Lindsay. Hmm.
Before that, Lindsay's comment was, "I will go without sleeping." I would say would, Lindsay, because it's a
Hmm.
hypothetical situation. I would go
Hmm.
without if I had to choose. It's
Hmm.
one of those conditional sentences. So use the conditional would there. And
Lindsay's come back with a nice response to my disagreement. He said, on the contrary, most chronic diseases come from consuming too much.
that's true. Yeah.
Yes. And I like your use of on the contrary, because you are challenging me. Most chronic diseases come from consuming too much. That is true. Yes, I'm sure that I would agree with you there. Yeah, you're right. Because
you're right. You're right there, mate.
Spot on. But we're joking there with our retorts because we're changing the register. We have been talking quite formally, but then when Craig made the joke and I said, you said spot on, and you're right there, mate, and I said spot on. We're joking because we're changing the register. We came down to informality.
Going back to the last question we had up, this is hotel or camping. Chris says it depends on the time of year. I wouldn't like spending the night outside when it's bucketing down. That expression bucketing down is very nice. When it's raining heavily, if it's raining a lot, we say it's bucketing down. Any other comments here? Chris has to get up soon. It's 4:17. Where are you, Chris? What part of the world are you?
Oh my goodness. You're obviously going without sleep, so you haven't skipped your meals. But you're choosing
like maybe North or South America, perhaps?
No, I think that sounds like Australia or New Zealand, actually.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so. You need to go. If it's only in the morning and we're in the evening, it's probably down under somewhere.
And Lindsay said it should narrow it down to America. Yeah, obesity is the number one cause of health problems. Yes, heart disease and obesity is a huge problem there. Okay, Lynn, it's your turn to choose.
My turn? Okay, let's take TV or book. What do you prefer, TV?
Well, let's clarify. So when we say TV, we mean including Netflix, including
of course,
watching on your computer, any film, TV series, or a book. So what's your view on
take on it, Craig?
My take.
What's your take on it?
Well, it's interesting because I've changed recently. I used to prefer reading, so I used to prefer always the book to the film. But I've noticed in the last few years I'm reading less and I'm watching more video, and I'm also listening to audiobooks. I don't know if you count or consider an audiobook to be a book, would you?
No, I would say TV, because it's one is like watching moving images with audio. The book is only reading and audio is only audio, isn't it? TV is audio visual.
So if someone's reading a book to you, if someone's reading a book to you, are you not reading the book? Then
that's audio. No, that's like audio.
You're consuming the book.
Yeah, you're consuming the book. You're consuming all of them. But it's to do with the sensors, which sensors you deploy, isn't it?
So how do you see it?
I think it's tricky. I mean, I have to say I do enjoy reading books, and I think I like reading very much. But I think it depends on the situation that you're in, because I also watch a lot of TV now. And I notice that when I want to unwind and I don't want to think too much, then I tend to go to watch TV, because I don't think it's so challenging. You don't have to remember so much. You just have to watch and consume. You watch, you hear.
More passive.
And it's very passive. When I'm reading a book, however, it's much more active, because I have to remember what's happening. I have to remember what's just happened. I have to imagine the descriptions where they are. So my imagination is used more when I'm reading a book. But then, of course, I need to be alert and I can't be tired when I'm reading a book, because otherwise I won't last very long. So I definitely need more energy to read a book.
Yeah, I
think with the audio, with the podcasts, it's kind of in between. So I do find myself nowadays listening to an awful lot of podcasts, because you do need a certain degree of concentration for the podcasts, but you don't need your visual senses. So you're just using your audio. It's like books. But of course, you can do more than one thing at the same time. You can multitask when you're hearing, when you're listening.
Also,
But with reading, you can't, because you're visually bound to the book. So you'd have an accident if you try to do other things while you're reading a book, wouldn't
no,
you?
that makes perfect sense. But
Uh-huh.
also, I feel that when the author of the book or somebody who's very skilled at reading, like Stephen Fry, for example, when they read their book to you,
Oh,
it kind
yes,
of
that's
lifts it
lovely.
off the
Of course,
page,
of
and you're
course.
consuming exactly the same content, but as you said, with a different through a different
Yeah.
sense. But
Yes.
the material is the same. In fact, I'd argue that it's even more engaging, more entertaining, and you'll remember more
Uh-huh.
because it's being read to you by
I'm
somebody who
sure.
knows how to read well.
Of course, of course. And
Um,
it's also interpreted, isn't it? It's interpreted. I
mhm,
mean, that's the advantage. If in a sense, if we, because I was just trying to express that they're different, like TV is audio visual,
mm,
a book, a written book is only visual, an audio book is audio only. And you kind of put them in a hierarchy. The most attention that you need is to read a book. The next one would be to listen to a book. And
mhm.
the next one is when you listen, but you've also got visual things, so you don't have to work at all. And that's why I think the TV is most relaxing,
I
because
agree.
that's where when you're tired, it's the first thing that you can do. But you get a lot of pleasure, I think, when you're not tired. I get far more pleasure from a book than I do from a TV.
And also, apart from a couple of exceptions, which maybe one is The Godfather, most books are better than the film interpretation of the book. That's been my experience. There have been one or
Uh-huh.
two films that have been excellent.
Yeah.
Alien, for example, The Godfather, but
Mm.
usually Jaws was very good. But
Mhm.
usually the book is much more entertaining because your mind is creating the film for you in
Mhm.
your inner mind, let's say.
Exactly. Uh-huh. Mhm.
Chris agrees with you. When I read a
Mhm.
book, I keep finding myself rereading the pages because my mind disconnects from the flow.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you need a lot of attention. Uh-huh. Yeah.
absolutely.
Uh-huh. And
And
Lindsay also says if you zone out, not with D, so if you zone out during listening, it's quite difficult for you to pick up from where you left off. Lovely phrasal verbs there, Lindsay.
yeah,
All right.
very
So
good.
we've got zone out, when that means when you stop listening, to pick up, to reconnect, and then from where you left off, where you stopped. Uh-huh. Yes, I agree with that. I often now, but that's the great thing about podcasts, because sometimes when I'm listening, particularly to, I enjoy listening to political podcasts. And when I listen to political podcasts and you zone out, you really lose the thread. So you have to stop. But the great thing about podcasts is you rewind. So I'm a great fan of my rewind button, because sometimes I realize that I need the last 3 minutes again because I just zoned out because something else happened
I'm a great
that
fan of my
distracted me.
fast forward button when the advertisements come on.
Yes, that's, oh, I must do that actually. I don't use that, but that would be very
Oh, yes.
sensible for me. Yes, that would indeed be very sensible for me.
Do we have time
Yeah,
for one more, or we're nearly out of time, unfortunately?
yeah, maybe we should just, um, because I know it's not so interesting, is it, to agree and disagree over a chat file. We are not keyboard
Yes.
warriors, which I loved
No.
that word that Lindsay gave us earlier. I think it was keyboard. Was it Lindsay or was it Vinicius? I can't remember. Or Martin. One of you said keyboard warriors, and I love that. Keyboard warriors is a soldier on the keyboard, but it is very difficult to have a discussion over a keyboard. I agree. Mhm.
Yeah. But
Maybe
we
we should
hope
just say where we are.
we hope that's
Mm,
helped you. Remember to, if you're taking an exam in English, remember to use a variety of these expressions. Choose 2 or 3 of your
mhm,
favorite ones, and
mm.
those are the ones that you can pull out of your sleeve during an exam.
And
So
last advice as well, I've said it before, practice, just take 3 or 4 different ones, but practice saying them with different intonation, because it really impresses the examiner if it's done naturally and with variety. It's very impressive.
That's right.
So do take the advice to heart. Go in the shower and pretend to act a little bit.
I couldn't agree more, Lynn.
Mm-hmm.
So thank you for spending time with us. We've enjoyed your company. I'm Craig from mentioningles.com, where you can study English and improve your English, especially if you're a Spanish speaker.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of podcasts, we do have a podcast. That's not Lynn and I, that's another friend, Reza, and I do a podcast every week at inglespodcast.com or wherever you listen to your podcasts. And I do have conversation classes starting soon, probably the last one before the summer in some cases. So if you are interested in improving your speaking to get more confidence and more fluency, then englishcraig.com is where you can book a free 10-minute consult with me, and I'll give you all the information. And if you want more of Lynn, and let's face it, why wouldn't you, go to putitlikethis.com.
I'm not sure I can agree with you there fully. But I had to put that in. But thank you. You're absolutely right, Craig.
That's how I see it.
That's how you see it. Okay. Yes. So I'm an online teacher. If you're interested in having a course made for you to help you achieve your objectives, then you can contact me over my website or over putitlikethis.com, and you can also find information about the types of classes that I do on that website. All right.
Okay, well, there you go. Well, thank you. Thank you for your comments, everybody. Thank you, Chris. Good to have you here. And we will be back in 2 weeks, I believe, Lynn, with another live stream.
Yes, we will indeed.
Okay,
you're absolutely right. Spot on. Dead right.
Couldn't agree more. See you soon.
See
Take care,
you soon.
everyone.
Bye-bye. Bye.